Hello, Tamara Green here for A Course in Miracles, lesson number 151. All right, 50% of our nerve endings in the head is around our face. So we're going to do acupressure points in our face, and you will feel your brain begin to wake up. The circulation's going to get going, the oxygen is going to start flowing, and it feels good. I did this the other day when I was feeling very exhausted, and it was a miracle. It just really kind of gave me a fresh new start. So I want to teach you to do this as well. All right, so you take your thumbs and you dig in, like right at your cheekbones. You just go underneath and you really push in. You can see I'm pushing in kind of hard, and you kind of find that sensitive spot and just push in and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And if it feels painful, that means there is stuck energy. It's not quite flowing in that meridian line or through that, that nerve. So you want to press one more time to really get that flowing there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release that. And the next thing we're going to do is the nose. I like to take the third finger and stick it either side between the nostril. Again, push in and feel the sensitivity right there. There's 2 nerves that run there. So you kind of dig in, dig in, dig in, dig in. You're opening some, I don't know, stuck energy up in the nerve endings there. Dig in. Doesn't necessarily feel good. But the more you do it, the better, the more it releases, so the better it feels, especially if you do it every day. Good. All right, good. Now we're going to, and you may feel your sinuses begin to clear too. Now we're going to go from here, like underneath the cheekbone, all the way to the ear. So I like to take my thumbs and I go in and then out. We're going to do 5 times. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Really dig in. Good. Now, underneath the nose, this is, you can either tap or you can go back and forth, whatever you're comfortable with. And this, if you're anxious, is a good thing because it helps to release stuck energy from the kidneys. The kidney meridian line ends up right here, right under the nose. Good. Good. And now, right under the lip, bottom lip. Tap there, or again, if you want to do that, that works too. Okay. Good. Now we're going to go to the temples, 2 fingers, and go in circles at the temples. Good. Again, if you feel discomfort or some sensitivity, just keep going, especially day after day, and you're going to find it just feels less uncomfortable as time goes on. Good. All right. Now, right beneath your ears, right beneath the earlobe, there behind the jaw, you kind of dig in. Right? You can use your thumbs. You dig in. Ooh, there's kind of a sensitive spot there. And don't be surprised. You really dig in. And don't be surprised if you feel saliva beginning to gather in your mouth, because it really does help to open up the saliva glands. So if you have dry mouth, try this. All right. Again, this is a sensitive spot for me, so this is a really good thing to do. Okay. Very good. And then the last thing we're going to do, it's like you put your fingers like this and you rub on either side of your ear, on the front and the back of your ear. Okay, very good. I don't know about you, but I feel like, whoo, it feels like I can see clearer and just everything seems brighter to me right now. All right, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. All right, lesson 151. All things are echoes of the voice for God. No one can judge on partial evidence. That is not judgment. It is merely an opinion based on ignorance and doubt. Its seeming certainty is but a cloak for the uncertainty it would conceal. It needs a rational defense because it is irrational. And its defense seems strong, convincing, and without a doubt because of all the doubting underneath. You do not seem to doubt the word you see. You do not really question what is shown you through the body's eyes, nor do you ask why you believe it, even though you learned a long while since your senses do deceive. That you believe them to the last detail which they report is even stranger when you pause to recollect how frequently they have been faulty witnesses indeed. Why would you trust them so implicitly? But why but because of underlying doubt, which you would hide with show of certainty? How can you judge? Your judgment rests upon the witness that your senses offer you. Yet witness never falser was than this. But how else do you judge the world you see? You place pathetic faith in what your eyes and ears report. You think your fingers touch reality and close upon the truth. This is awareness that you understand and think more real than what is witnessed to by the eternal voice for God Himself. Can this be judgment? You have often been urged to refrain from judging, not because it is right to be withheld from you. You cannot judge. You merely can believe the ego's judgment to prove how weak you are, how helpless and afraid, how apprehensive of just punishment, how black with sin, how wretched in your guilt. This thing it speaks of and would yet defend, it tells you is yourself. And you believe that this is so with stubborn certainty. Yet underneath remains the hidden doubt that what it shows you as reality with such conviction it does not believe. It is itself alone that it condemns. It is within itself it sees the guilt. It is its own despair it sees in you. Hear not its voice. The witnesses it sends to prove to you its evil is your own are false, and speak with certainty of what they do not know. Your faith in them is blind because you would not share the doubts their Lord cannot completely vanquish. You believe to doubt His vassals is to doubt yourself. Yet you must learn to doubt their evidence will clear the way to recognize yourself and let the voice for God alone be judge of what is worthy of your own belief. He will not tell you that your brother should be judged by what your eyes behold in him, what your fingers touch reports of him. He passes by such idle witnesses which merely bear false witness to God's Son. He recognizes only what God loves, and in the holy light of what he sees do all the ego's dreams of what you are vanish before the splendor he beholds. Let him be judge of what you are, for he has certainty in which there is no doubt, because it rests on certainty so great that doubt is meaningless before its face. Christ cannot doubt himself. The voice for God can only honor him, rejoicing in his perfect everlasting sinlessness. Whom he has judged can only laugh at guilt, unwilling now to play with the toys of sin, unheeding of the body's witnesses before the rapture of Christ's holy face. And thus he judges you, accept his word for what you are, for he bears witness to your beautiful creation and the mind whose thought created your reality. What can the body mean to him who knows the glory of the Father and the Son? What whispers of the ego can he hear? What could convince him that your sins are real? Let him be judge as well of everything that seems to happen to you in this world. His lessons will enable you to bridge the gap between illusions and the truth. He will remove all faith that you have placed in pain, disaster, suffering, and loss. He gives you vision which can look beyond these grim appearances and can behold the gentle face of Christ in all of them. You will no longer doubt that only good can come to you who are beloved of God, for he will judge all happenings and teach the single lesson that they all contain. He will select the elements in which represent the truth and disregard those aspects which reflect but idle dreams. And he will reinterpret all you see and all occurrences, each circumstance and every happening that seems to touch on you in any way from his one frame of reference, holy, unified, and sure. And you will see the love beyond the hate, the constancy in change, the pure in sin, and only heaven's blessing on the world. Such is your resurrection, for your life is not a part of anything you see. It stands beyond the body and the world, past every witness for unholiness, within the holy, holy as itself. In everyone and everything, his voice would speak to you of nothing but yourself and your Creator, who is one with him. So will you see the holy face of Christ in everything and hear in everything no sound except the echo of God's voice. We practice wordlessly today, except at the beginning of the time we spend with God. We introduce these times with but a single slow repeating of the thought with which the day begins. And then we watch our thoughts appealing silently to him who sees the elements of truth in them. Let him evaluate each thought that comes to mind, remove the elements of dreams, and give them back again as clean ideas that do not contradict the will of God. Give him your thoughts, and he will give them back as miracles, which joyously proclaim the wholeness and the happiness God wills his Son as proof of his eternal love. And as each thought is thus transformed, it takes on healing power from the mind which saw the truth in it and failed to be deceived by what was falsely added. All the threads of fantasy are gone. And what remains is unified into a perfect thought that offers its perfection everywhere. Spend 15 minutes thus when you awake, and gladly give another 15 before you go to sleep. Your ministry begins as all your thoughts are purified. So are you taught to teach the Son of God the holy lesson of his sanctity. No one can fail to listen when your voice for God give honor to God's Son. And everyone will share the thoughts with you which he has translated in your mind. Such is your Eastertide, and so you lay the gift of snow-white lilies on the world, replacing witnesses to sin and death. Through your transfiguration, this is the world redeemed and joyfully released from guilt. Now do we lift our resurrected minds in gladness and in gratitude to him who has restored our sanity to us. And we will hourly remember him who is salvation and deliverance. As we give thanks, the world unites with us and happily accepts our holy thoughts, which heaven has corrected and made pure. Now has our ministry begun at last to carry around the world joyous news that truth has no illusions, and the peace of God through us belongs to everyone. So, lesson number 151 is all things are echoes of the voice for God. So, this lesson is all about what our ego tells us, right? The ego is only concerned about the five senses of our body: what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we smell, what we taste. But that isn't the real truth with a capital T. That's, our body's experience, right? But it's illusional based on the truth of who we really are, which is a spirit within the body. And it's the spirit that is eternal. I've been talking about this quite a bit. Eternal. And the only thing that is truth is eternal, is love. There's no difference in what is eternal, which is truth with a capital T, which is love. Okay? So it is seen through the eyes of God, not through the eyes of our ego or our body, same thing. Seen through the eyes of God, or the will of God, as it talks about here in the lesson, which is love. So I think I've mentioned this before in previous comments in these lessons, that I've been told quite often by people that, Tamara, it just feels good to be around you. I just never feel judged by you. And I'm always so happy to hear that comment, because I do see past. I'm able at this point, with all my years of spiritual practices and readings and teachings, that I do see the God in everyone, the spirit in everyone, the love, the innocence, and the purity in everyone and in everything. And there, if I judge, I am coming from a very illusional, false place. But if I can, see past that person's, reactions, their behaviors, their actions, see beyond that and know that they're operating from fear of some kind, and that's why they're behaving that way or saying that kind of hateful or angry thing that they're saying. I see beyond it, and what I see is their light, and what I see is their purity and their innocence, and that they are created just as God created me and created them. They are love. Okay. So what we're doing now and before we go to bed and throughout the day, we are asking God to please let me see through the eyes of God today. Let me keep replacing my illusional fear-based thoughts, feelings, behaviors, compulsions. Let me ask God to just take over. May I see through the eyes of God, through the eyes of love today and throughout the day and before I go to bed. And each time it's almost like we get a reset. And again, as it talks about in the end of this lesson, this is how we save this world, save ourselves and this world. This is salvation for the world. Okay. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.